Hello, welcome back to my channel. I recently created this Mother's Day cake. I've got some fun techniques to share, including making gold buttercream, fondant roses in decor, and piping buttercream roses as well. Start with the fondant Mother's Day plaque for the front of the cake. Dust my surface with some cornstarch to prevent the fondant from sticking too much. Then I'll roll it out and emboss it with a stamp from my shop that says Happy Mother's Day. I'll cut it out with a circle cutter. I'm using some edible glitter dust by Sweets and Treats Boutique. This color is called Garnet and it's a beautiful sparkly dark red. Next, I'm using an edible gold paint by Sweet Sticks to paint in the embossed details and make them stand out. This is my DIY easy marshmallow fondant recipe. I'll link that in the description and that's on my channel as well. I'll next be adding some more fondant decorations to these plaques. I also have this gold edible glitter. Just using a big fluffy clean brush like this, dust it into the fondant mold. I'm going to be making some fondant gold leaves to match. If you've seen others of my videos, you know I typically use shortening to release fondant from silicone molds. Another option is to use cornstarch. I'm going to be adding glitter to them. Sometimes I'll just use the glitter as the mold fondant release too. I'll also be doing this with a rose silicone mold I have here, using that deep red edible glitter for some pink and some red roses. Later in the video, I'll be piping some buttercream roses in red, pink, and purple, so I wanted my smaller fondant roses to match those. The leaf mold and the rose mold here are in my Amazon storefront if you're looking for these. And here are all my fondant pieces. Now we'll assemble some. Fondant sticks easily to fondant with just a brush of water. Makes the fondant briefly sticky so it'll adhere to just about anything and then let it dry like this. Inspiration for the color scheme I'm using for this cake is the Sprinkle Mix by Sweets and Treats Boutique. It's called Roses and Rosé. It's got little candy roses and edible gold sugar rods, and I really like the colors together. I'll also add some sprinkles here for a little bling. Again, just a little brush of water, press it into the fondant so it is indented. Once you finish decorating, let everything dry overnight, open to air so it'll harden. Next, we'll move to covering our cake in buttercream. I'm using a cake that I covered before just so I can show you this technique and save a little time. Since we're going to be dusting this with gold glitter to make it look like it's actually gold, I'll start with the gold color of buttercream, which I made from mixing a little bit of yellow and a tiny bit of brown gel coloring into my white buttercream. This gets our eyes thinking gold already. We don't have to use a ton of product in the end. The concept works on fondant too. If you want to make some gold little fondant decorations, start with a gold color and then add your gold dust or your gold paint. You won't have to use so much. This is also a great concept if you want to make something silver, start with a light gray color, or if you want to make something rose gold, you can start with a blush pink color and then add gold on top of it. And check out my more in-depth video about frosting buttercream cakes too, if that interests you. Alright, then I'll stick my buttercream cake in the fridge for about a half an hour until it's crusted and set and very cold. And then using a big fluffy brush like this, I'm just going to dust very lightly with the gold edible glitter dust. Then we'll move on to piping some roses. I'm using a 103 petal tip here. Like the size, it gives a good medium-sized rose. You can certainly use a 102, 104, any size you want to go with this. Get some red, pink, and purple buttercream again to match that sprinkle mix. Here's how you start. Of buttercream attaches your parchment paper to your flower nail, and then start with just a blob at the base. Pipe a border around this blob, and then pipe another blob on top. Then pipe a little cone shape, bring the buttercream down and letting go. Pipe the petals, make sure the narrow end of the tip is up and the wide end is down. Release your pressure after each petal, don't make them continuous. Pipe each row in an odd number, so I'll start with 3 petals, then spin around and do 5 petals, and then 7 petals, and then you can keep going if you want it larger, of course. Take your time and make sure to keep your tip up instead of bending it backward flat. The little blob at the very beginning is very important. It gives you a nice high point to start from. The first row of petals should be pretty high up on the rows on that cone we piped. Next row, pipe a little bit further down the cone, and the last row maybe toward the bottom. This keeps your roses much more tall and 3D-like versus very flat and all kind of at the same level. Think about piping the petals in an arch shape too, rather than all very flat and straight. This gives it a lot of height and dimension. You'll want to use a stiff consistency of buttercream for this. I often add quite a bit of powdered sugar to the buttercream that I've made. So use your recipes and recipes you've searched for more as guidelines and add powdered sugar to it. One way I like to test and see if my buttercream is stiff enough to pipe, I'll take a scoop of buttercream out of my bowl with my spatula and then turn it upside down. If the buttercream stays on the spatula and doesn't fall off, you're good to go. These little stands I'm using to hold up my flower nails are called the Flower Nail Buddy. My shop actually developed, designed, and sells them. You need to take a break or change colors or bags or tips. It's a way to set down your flower nail without totally using your flower. Nice to have a place to set it down to add small details like sprinkles or centers for flowers that need those. Or if your doorbell rings or baby cries or something while you're piping a flower, you won't have to lose your piped flower. I'll link those in the description too if you're interested. I'm using parchment paper for these because I'm planning on freezing them. When you're ready to place them on your cake, you can just pop them out of the freezer, peel the parchment paper off, and place them on your cake with your hands. You can also pipe them and place them directly on the cake from the flower nail using an open scissors or a buttercream flower lifter. I like the freezing method though, because that way I can take a little more time if I'm deciding where to place them, and I can also place them on the front or the side of the cake without them falling off. And then we'll add a little more glitter, of course, just so it matches all the fondant decorations. I'll pop them into the freezer in these containers. Fondant plaque is dry, so I'm going to attach it to the front of the cake, just a little bit of buttercream. Our frozen buttercream roses will be placed on the cake with just a little buttercream to stick them as well. Also just adding some little drop stars with the pink and the purple and the red buttercream as accents as well. I'm using different small open star tips for these, like a 199, a 32. Any similar small open star tips will work. Also give our fondant flowers and leaves and our sprinkles something to stick to. I like mixing up using both buttercream and fondant roses. Silicone flower molds help create lots of fondant flowers in a small amount of time. Of course, the piped buttercream ones are more realistic and larger, and just a really fun skill to have. This cake I'll be combining both the fondant and the buttercream flowers and leaves together. Piping a few buttercream leaves in between the corners here with a 352 tip. Then once I put this cake in the fridge and let it set up, I'll dust these leaves with a little bit of that gold dust as well. Some more sprinkles for some more shine and sparkle to the top, and then I'll add some more fondant pieces to the plaque in the front, and then a few more finishing touches here, and we're done. Thanks again for watching. This is a really fun design to make. Let me know in the comments what you're baking for Mother's Day.